And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Thank you so much for hanging out for the 7 minutes that it took us to get on the air, which, in all fairness, I think we're doing a lot better as far as getting on the air on time with all the bullshit that we have to deal with week in and week out. And I'm not even talking about the technical bullshit. I'm talking about the bullshit of this fucked up industry. Right, Joe?
Right, Spencer.
Nice to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you, my friend. How are you?
I am not terrible, actually. I had no Red Bull, and I felt like having like a little booze and a Red Bull, so I decided to have a coffee with beer. I don't know if that is reasonable in most people's minds. But really, what's the difference? You're getting the caffeine and you're getting the alcohol, which means I'm going to have a good show.
It's going to be a good show.
It's
good time. Have by all. Because I'm right there with you.
You're drinking too. And just so you guys know, who are new to the broadcast and don't know who we are, why we're here, and where we are, I'm in Los Angeles. What was that?
We're a couple of drunks.
I'm in Los Angeles. Joe's in Vancouver, which means it's only 2 o'clock here on the west coast of the United States of America, and we're doing some day drinking on the Bald Show. That's exactly what this is. This is a hair loss show. I'm the founder of the American Hair Loss Association, author of The Bald Truth, The Truth About Women's Hair Loss, founder and director of Consumer Patient Affairs of the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. I am the illustrious winner of the FUE, the first ever FUE Europe Lifetime Achievement Award ever, and the youngest. I just like to say that. I will be the youngest for a long time, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Until I get mine.
At least a decade. At least a decade. Now, I bring up the award, and I want everyone to take this in the spirit that it's meant. I was honored to receive that award, especially given the circumstances and given the situation that, I have been in, as far as I've put my neck on the line for years for patients in this field, and really fighting against the politicians on all the bullshit and also the really bad doctors out there. No one really has ever done that. And so getting recognition from a scientific body in this fucked up field for doing what I'm supposed to be doing absolutely felt good. And I accept it as a real award. With that said, most of the awards that are given out in this fucked up industry are complete and utter political bullshit. Most of the stuff that you see out there that are being pimped out by plastic surgeons, cosmetic surgeons, facial plastic and reconstructive surgeons, and especially hair transplant surgeons, are bought and paid for.
Yep.
That's it. I was awarded the Michelangelo Award for, my contributions to the hair transplant industry, to the science.
As a doctor.
Of hair transplant surgery, as a physician. Didn't take it. I was voted and awarded, would have been awarded if I would have paid the fee, by a group of my peers in plastic surgery as a top physician by a very well-known top doc organization. I was contacted to be in a magazine, an in-flight magazine. And if I would have paid enough money, I would have had a picture of me with a big mug, maybe a tie, and I could have been one of America's top hair transplant surgeons. That's it. And I could put that all over YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and humble brag and say how humbled I am to have been awarded this, and to put pictures of myself every time I'm on a fucking airplane, opening up that magazine. I barely got out of fucking high school. Okay? My mother literally got on her knees and kissed the ground at my graduation.
That's hilarious.
She's like, I don't know how you did it.
That's what I did.
Hold on, I just lost my headset. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
And then the fact that I actually got into a well-known, a good university was like, people just fell over backwards. I could tell you why I got in, to be honest with you. I was a lousy student. But I'm like, all I got to do is take these SATs and get into college. I crushed it. It's not fucking rocket science. It's not rocket science. You have a book, right? And you get this book, and you get to study this book. You do this for like 2 or 3 weeks. It gives you basically everything you need to know in order to do well on the SATs. And that's it. So it's a thick book. So I took the time, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. If I don't get into school, my parents are going to kill me. What am I going to do?
Yep.
And I went to basically a college preparatory school where everyone was getting into a good school. I'll never forget, my guidance counselor sat me down and said, you know, college isn't for everyone, Spence.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. This is before I took the Scholastic Aptitude Test, which is
but
fucking.
Can wash a dish.
What'd you say?
But anyone can wash a dish.
Yeah. You know, maybe you should consider, you know, I mean, they were talking about community colleges like CUNY in New York, and also, you know, trade school. Now, I got to understand, my mother worked her ass off and father to send me to a private school so I can get into a good college, so I could have all of the, I guess, the advantages that maybe other kids in my neighborhood did not have. I didn't really appreciate it. But I knew that I was talked about so much as a kid, like, what the fuck are you doing? That I had to figure it out so that at the end, when I made it to that finish line, I would be able to say, I can get into a good university. So I wrote a killer essay. I was an athlete, and I crushed it on these stupid tests that mean nothing. And I got into good schools. I decided to go to Penn State. And then I dropped out.
All that for nothing.
It wasn't, though, because it really was just not to aggravate my parents, and also not to deal with the bullshit that I would have had to deal with if I couldn't get into a decent university.
But you still dealt with it when you left, and it's like,
well, I was already making more money than my father when I left school.
Yeah.
So what is he going to do? You know, I showed him the numbers. I'm like, you know, there's really no value here for me. I'm making in a month what you make in 3 months, and I'm 19. And I'm 19 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go in this direction. My whole point, again, is the awards. These guys who are talking about the ABHRS and how difficult these exams are. I don't believe that I have to be a physician to be able to study enough to pass one of these exams. It may take me a year because I would have to go back and learn, basic anatomy, biology, chemistry all over again.
Medical terminology.
That's
actually fun.
But I'm an autodidact. I believe that I would be able to do this. Do I think that I could perform a hair transplant right now? No fucking way. Could I learn? Sure. But I definitely believe that I would be able to pass the test without ever performing a hair transplant if given enough time to study.
I could. I'd have to study for it, but I could do it.
Right.
I've been around enough,
So, and the same goes for being board certified, truly board certified in a lot of different specialties. I remember speaking to one physician, very honest guy. He's our undercover doc. And he said to me, you don't have to be a genius to be a doctor. All you do is have to be able to memorize enough stuff to pass the exams. And you forget half of it afterwards.
That's not encouraging.
It is not encouraging. But that is the reality of it. So when physicians are upset that laymen are trying to do their thing in order to help patients, trying to kind of guide the field in a safe direction because we're not physicians, what do you want me to do? I chose this route. This is how I go about my life. I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. It's a pain in the fucking ass. I like what I do. And I'm effective at it. Now, have I been as effective as I can be? To be honest with you, no. I've helped a lot of people over the years, and so has Joe. But I have sat back and kind of allowed certain things to occur because out of respect for the industry, out of respect for the physicians who are part of what we do, and out of respect for, I didn't want to step on too many toes as far as, the ISHRS is concerned or the ABHRS is concerned. I wanted to give them the opportunity to do the right thing and to come to the table and to help those who are in need and those who they claim to give a shit about. But over the last 2 years of waiting and negotiating and trying and having phone calls and speaking to these people ad nauseum, I've come to a couple of conclusions. One conclusion is nothing's going to change if we go in this direction. And the second conclusion is I believe that I am doing the consumer and everyone who depends in this field a tremendous disservice to hope that I will be able to convince these stiffs to do the right thing and to collaborate with those who could actually affect change and help people. So I'm no longer waiting. That's it. That's my opening. Doctors who are listening, I'm sorry if this is upsetting you. Those who are in private chat rooms discussing everything that I write and say, thank you. You're making me even more relevant. For those who do not support the work that we do, patients before profits will not survive the next 5 years in this field. Probably less than that. And those who try to combat it, it'll be an issue.
Well, there you go.
Guys, we have open lines. You can call in. Yes, I'm on my soapbox right now. But if you knew what went on behind the scenes, as far as an industry that many of you are depending on to change your lives and to help you get past this aspect of your life, dealing with hair loss, you would be like, you know what, Spence? You keep fucking talking. You keep saying what you're saying because we appreciate it. Because in general, there are only a handful of doctors out there that really care, and the rest of the motherfuckers do not give a shit. All they want to do is maintain control. All they want to do is somehow stick to the status quo so that they appear and feel as though they are somehow in control, when in fact they have handed control of this field, as my friend from the UK Specs would say, to the fucking dogs.
Well said.
I still need you, Joe. Still need you on the show.
Sorry, what?
Did 20 minutes by myself, for crying out loud.
Hey, man, you were on a roll. I liked it.
I know. I know.
Luis Romero said something interesting. He said, "There's no value for," and back to the college thing that you're talking about. No value for college. You can have a huge loan to pay off. I agree 100%. And college is great, but today, in today's world, it is way overblown. It is way overpriced, and it is way overhyped. There's so many things that people can do, and I think that trade schools are super valuable, and not given the recognition that they deserve, because there's so many things that people can do aside from going to college and racking up $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 student loans.
Well, especially with the job market, when people are racking up those type of loans, and they're coming out and they're getting jobs for $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year if they're lucky.
Yeah.
When you can become an electrician, and after your apprenticeship, you can make $150,000 or more.
Yeah.
And that shit's not going anywhere. There's no robot or computer that's going to take your job. Certain aspects of dealing with electricity in homes, whatever it is, may eventually become somewhat automated.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty important thing. It's a pretty important trade. Now, I probably wouldn't, learn how to be a furrier at this point. It's probably not a trade you want to learn at this point.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good trades. And actually, the trades are paying more in general than a lot of these out-of-the-box, out-of-college, lower-end jobs. So
right.
I would say I agree with you 100% and agree with our guy in the chat room. I should go into the chat room. What is the chat room again? Hold on. I know
Up
this.
on the side. Where are you watching it?
I'm not even watching it.
Ah.
I find that when I don't watch it, I feel like I'm on the radio again, and it's like we're actually doing a show, like a radio show. And I really just miss talking. The lighting and the fucking, your hair has to be done, and the whole thing is just such a pain in the ass. There's nothing like the theater of the mind, listening to radio or a podcast, I guess. I mean, basically that is, it doesn't matter what the technology is. It's just the power of the voice that I think is really important. And that's really why I kind of like to keep the program at least looking like a radio show. The only reason I don't use any drops or bumpers or breakers or music and stuff like that yet, which I know that I have some music that I can use now, is because YouTube flags everything. And now that we're streaming on YouTube, I don't want to fuck around with it. So I don't have the production value of the radio show that we used to have. But I like the conversation. I like just being able to sit in front of this mic and speak. I don't want to have to worry about reading what's in the chat room. Not that I don't appreciate everyone in your chat room. I think it's great. But I also have to recognize that that's part of communication now. That's part of broadcasting.
Yeah, I've seen some radio broadcasts that will have a camera in studio because they're trying to have that social media presence,
right?
And you can see the juggling that they do, because they're monitoring comments and stuff like this all at the same time, and it's I gotta say, for what we do, for how this is done, it's surprisingly smooth.
Been doing it for a long time. You've been doing it for a long time now. The reality is, when I was on the radio, we had a camera when that website Stickcam first came out, and Ustream. And there's a camera in my studio at Westwood One. And essentially all I had to do is sit down, talk on the mic, and everything else was done for me.
Yeah.
When I started doing it myself, I have to run everything. And it is really like it's a symphony of moving parts. That it's a very when people come into the studio and watch the show, like Alan Bauman or anybody who's been in here, they are amazed at the level of work it takes. I think when you first came into the studio in 2012,
yeah,
and you saw all of the moving parts and my hands and feet and levers moving all at the same time, I think you were a little shocked at what it took to run things.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very, very surprising. But I was also surprised at this has been something that's always been fascinating to me, is like when I'm watching a television show, or even when I'm watching a movie, I see what's on the screen, but I imagine what's behind the lens and the camera. In other words, what you're not seeing off to the left or to the right or behind you. Imagine, as if your head is the camera watching the scene, right? And so that has always been something, like, even as a small kid, when I realized what I was looking at, I used to think like that. It's like, well, what's going on over here? Like, there's a person over here with a cup of water for, someone gets thirsty, whatever. And so I always wondered what it was like in your studio. And so when I walked in, it's like, aha.
It was weird, right?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. I mean,
it's a fucking set.
It was a set, and then you got your fold-away bed, and then there's the front door because it's like a 400 square foot apartment.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous, exactly.
It's like I was living in a hovel.
Chinese takeout boxes everywhere. It was just
got a guy outside. No. Got a guy outside in a lawn chair smoking cigarette after cigarette after cigarette, and the smell is coming to my fucking place. I'm like, hey, Charlie, how's life? He's like, taking forever.
That's good.
Anyway, man, 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the phone. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
It's Mordy from South Florida. First call of the day.
Mordy.
Hey,
welcome,
Mordy,
man.
What's up? I'm doing great, guys. I'm out here in the Florida sun. I'm actually taking a walk to the liquor store because I'm going to buy some single malt scotch to take to dinner. I got invited to Friday night dinner, and I've taken it as a hobby to basically to bring a little bit of l'chaims with me.
Yeah, so Friday. So you've been invited to Shabbat dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
That's beautiful, man.
So there's a liquor store like not too far from where I work, and I figured I'm going to take advantage, take a few steps, and get some steps in. And then I noticed you guys hadn't gotten any calls, so I figured I'd call and walk and call.
How do you know we didn't get it? How do you know I wasn't just not taking calls? How do you know that I just chose to do a 27-minute opening? I didn't choose that on my own.
You said the phones were open, and that's when I called.
There you go. Damn it, slip through. I appreciate that.
Well, I love listening to you guys, and you know what? It's funny you're talking about how communication has changed. And first of all, I mean, just to tell you the level of professionalism and the production quality of this show, in my opinion, is very high considerable. I mean, I've watched a lot of things on YouTube, and I keep coming back to you guys because I enjoy the content, and the production values are high. I mean, the audio is high quality, the imagery is good. And you guys are pleasant to listen to, and you know, that's why I'm here.
I appreciate that, but I have a 360 deck sitting right over to my left that has so many great drops and bumpers and breakers and sound bites, and I just can't use them. Try to use the late great Gary Coleman drop. Somehow I got tagged. I don't even know why.
You used to use that.
I did used to use it. And I have a great one from Michael Anthony and Jesus, Sammy Hagar from Van Halen.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah,
those are my buddies. I love those guys.
I'll see if I can find it and I'll play it, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be tagged.
You know, it's crazy. The biggest problem is that you have YouTube, which is a giant corporation with, very singular management, and they are just completely unwilling to take the kinds of risks. I mean, if you think about when HBO came out and cable TV came out and all of the risks that were taken, because if you compare that to the way that broadcast TV was before then. And now we have this new conservatism when it comes to content. And it's just depressing, man. Well,
I don't even know if it's about. I don't even know if it's about taking risk at this point. I think it's just about earning money. Because if you're tagged, then if it's a song, for instance, then the owner of that music is then I don't know how they're compensated, but YouTube then automatically will put advertising on your product. Is that right, Joe?
Not necessarily. What happens is they will, if there
Please don't contradict me on the air.
If there is any monetization already enabled on the channel where the offending content has been shared, then any monetization that is gained, any funds that come through that monetization are directed toward the copyright holder. And since we do not have any monetization, or I don't have any monetization on this channel, ain't no one get jack. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, but it's like ridiculous. It's like, I mean, because I watch a number of different YouTube channels. I watch stuff on you guys. I watch some stuff on guitar because I love music and guitars. I watch stuff on cars. Like there's a number of channels like B is for Build. I love watching these guys. And, there's this one guy, he's in Indiana somewhere, and he does like amplifier and electric guitar repair. And he's always complaining about his content being demonetized, and he lives off of it. And it's usually for the stupidest of things.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Dude, we can't. Do not talk about Big Brother.
Oh my God. Anyway, I said something to Joe.
All of a sudden, this show's going to click over, and you're going to see Hairliciously on it.
That's funny.
Yeah, selling his fucking lotions and potions.
Look, man, I got to hand it to the kid. He's entrepreneurial, and look, these kids don't know any better. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think anything that he's really selling is damaging, except perhaps for his whatchamacallit, his derma rolling stuff. Because I think he sells a machine where you can actually put that needle out really far. So you have to be very careful with that stuff. But I mean,
all I can say is that the entire world has become soulless. It's just no one gives a fuck about anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do, Morty, but
Oh, well, that's very kind of you, Spencer.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was calling because I sent an article to Joe earlier today from the Atlantic, and it was a republished. It was an article that was based on some stuff that Joe had posted on YouTube. It was from that lovely researcher out of Columbia University, an Italian woman. Get her name.
Angela M. Cristiano.
That's the lady, right? So Miss Cristiano had come up with this 3D molded gelatin set of wells where you could put mesenchymal stem cells and have hairs grow out of it. And Atlantic picked it up, and they interviewed Dr. Robert. The Jewish guy. in New York City. The hair. I think he's IHS member.
Robert Bernstein.
Bernstein. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Bernstein was also interviewed.
Okay.
And I wanted to get your take on it.
My take is, here's my reality, and Joe is upset with me about this probably, but I know Angela Cristiano pretty well. She actually wrote the foreword for my second book, The Truth About Women's Hair Loss. We were friends at the very beginning of my career. We used to go out to dinner, hang out. She's a cool lady. What a lot of people don't know about her is that she actually plays the organ incredibly well.
Okay.
So that's dirty, man. You're thinking dirty.
FSK in the chat room, don't even think about it.
Yeah. And she's a mother, for crying out loud, for God's sake.
Yeah,
but no, she's a really sweet, lovely person, and so I know her. I can call her. She has sent me stuff that's been embargoed, where I got stuff in advance, and I didn't speak about it until it was actually put out to the mainstream media, and I did not contact her to have her on the show to talk about this. And the reason I didn't contact her was I was hungover for like a week when that happened. No, my concern is always giving people the immediate false hope. It's exciting. It's great. It would have definitely, and Joe is right, and I'm sorry, Joe, it would have definitely gotten a lot of eyeballs, a lot of views, and maybe some more subscribers to the channel. But I don't necessarily think it has to be timely. Now, the only reason it would have to be timely is for the mainstream media to pick up the show. But there's a lot going on that week. So I know your question has nothing to do with how well I know Angela Cristiano and the fact that I'm a baller and the fact that I can get her on the program at any time. Your question is this something that could be a viable option? Well, I can tell you this. If they're actually able to grow hair on a scaffold, and that hair can then be implanted and then regenerate, then hair transplant surgery as we know it is a completely different animal. Meaning you will not have a finite amount of hair that can be moved from your donor to the recipient area. With that said, the limitations are going to lie in your skin characteristics and the actual procedure itself, who's performing the procedure. That's where the limitations are going to be. Will you be able to mimic nature? It may be difficult to get your grafts that close together without your skin just completely falling apart.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of my question.
Joe wants to answer the question before you speak. I see him, and he wants to say something.
Well, here's okay. So I'm not going to answer that specific part because I believe that what Spencer said kind of covers it. But here's something that I think no one has really talked about before that's going to be huge. Let's assume for a moment that this isn't going to be another treatment that's going to be 10 years in the making from the time that it's announced, because so far we got jack shit for all the progress that people are, losing their minds about. But let's assume that, say, next year it comes out, like the first announcement. Okay, it's here. Line up. We're ready for you. This will be the death. This will change the industry on its head, and all the issues that we're seeing with these cheap ass clinics will disappear overnight. Because once people start hearing about this, no one will want to go and get a hair transplant anymore in the traditional sense. They'll all be lining up for this, and because it ain't going to be cheap out of the gate, I think that this will be kind of like a whitewash of the industry as it sits now.
You see, I'm going to have to disagree with that in some respect. I believe
disagree with me on camera.
I believe that what's going to occur is the guys who have been turnkeying it and selling $2 graft procedures are going to stay in business. They're going to get their hands on this, license this technology, and they're just going to be able to charge more for it and still fuck people up. There will be less.
I would agree with you there, Spence, because from what I could see, because I read the article, is basically the scaffold that you're talking about is it's a piece of it's gelatin, it's a well, and you're still you could think of it largely as an extracted graft. And you're basically down to the same problem. You're still going to have to place it.
Right.
And the placement is everything. And that's where your good versus your bad doctors come from. The only thing that's different between, say, this and FUE is the scarring in the back and the donor supply.
Exactly.
Other than that, it's the same surgery, as far as I can tell.
It is exactly. It's going to be exactly the same surgery, and it's going to be performed by, in order to cut corners and in order to make it more affordable than other places, and they'll pay for the technology. That's what consumers will be paying for, but eventually that technology will become less expensive. They will be hiring less and less skilled workers to pay less, to pay less too. There will be less people working on your scalp.
That's going on already, I mean.
Yeah,
but two points about that, though, is number one, it'll eliminate this devastation we're seeing with one pass, first hair transplant results, where the donor area is just blown away.
100%. That'll be gone.
Just blown to shit.
Right.
Gone.
Yeah.
Won't happen
That's
anymore.
done.
But on the flip side, and I wasn't quite finished.
Before I interrupted you so abruptly.
So rudely.
Yeah.
Was that with your baller connections to the woman who's talking about this, you can tell her, don't license it to the bad guys.
I can tell her that. I believe that the control that she's going to have over that, even if, and I think she may be forming her own company. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to ask her. I can guarantee you that there is no company alive that will not sell it to anyone who's willing to buy it. If they're a doctor.
Well, then I'll protest.
Period. That is the way that's going to happen. That is why people discover things like this. That is their whole job is, well, we're not here to police the industry. We created this technology to help change people's lives. How people choose to use it. What is that?
This will allow them to police it. We need to convince them. Do the right thing.
We can try, and I'd absolutely be more than happy to do that. We can maybe figure out some sort of real training centers, and essentially eliminate what I would like to do is just kind of make like a Schindler's List of good hair transplant surgeons, keep them on board, save their asses, and get rid of everybody else's, and then start training new people. Did I offend you with a Schindler's List, Mordy? I thought it was a good analogy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Well, you already have your Schindler's List. It's called the IHRS. So, I mean, that's what that is.
But there's more. That's funny. There's more. Let these guys know that we're saving their asses with the IHRS.
That's good.
That's fucking hilarious. But yeah. I actually think that's the reality.
I won't trust anyone. I won't trust anyone that's not on that list. And quite frankly, even some of the ones that are on that list, I'm a bit suspect on. I think I told you last time I called that I saw one of the members, A, advertising on Facebook, B, when I called them, they undercut some of the other doctors that I made calls with by about 20-30%.
Sure. Because they're all. A lot of them are struggling. They are struggling. They are fearful. It depends on what part of the country they're in. If they're in South Florida, holy shit, the competition that they have to deal with, forget about it.
Yeah, no, No, I mean, like I said, that's the guy I called wasn't in South Florida. He was another New York doctor, but he was advertising on Facebook.
Yeah, they all. Listen, this is the nature of the game. Period. I can't do anything. I can't tell you. Look. Why are you advertising on Real Self? Why are you doing this? I believe I honestly believe those who are supporting this type of platform are essentially sealing their own fate without even knowing it. And it's unfortunate. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. And, it's like, and again, this is thanks to you guys. Now I see a doctor on Facebook, right? And I go ahead and I recognize the name. And then I go back to the IHRS. I see the name there. Like, okay, so this guy is IHRS. And then I decide to call him. And then I get back a number which, you compared 17,000 compared to, I'll do it for 11. And if you schedule it right with me, I'll do it for 8,500. And I'm like, whoa, now I'm already suspect, right? It's like, okay, you may be on the list, but if you're going down that low, I'm beginning to wonder. You know what I mean? So he's actually hurting himself by pricing himself that low.
I stayed silent because I want that clip, because that's a really important piece of information that I have to share with these guys who are essentially destroying their own fucking practices and cheapening this incredibly nuanced, difficult form of cosmetic surgery. I mean, these guys, like I said last week, they're afraid to be fucking doctors now because they can't compete. And they're competing against dentists. They're competing against med spas. They're competing against companies that are calling themselves affordable hair transplants. They're competing against, PAs. I mean, and they have their families to feed. They're fucking panicking. Their phones are not ringing like they used to because, everyone's deciding, well, I want a $2 neograft procedure.
Yeah.
But if everyone stood together and said, fuck this, not in an antitrust way, as some morons in this industry believe could possibly happen, but in a, look, we're specialists, we're actually doctors, we've studied this, we've specialized in this for years. Our choice is to charge for consultations. Our choice is to charge what it costs in order to provide people with the best level and standard of care possible in this field, including using the right holding solutions, which are more expensive, having the right number of technicians, which is more expensive, using the right tools and instrumentation, which is more expensive, having the facilities in top-notch shape and inspected on a regular basis, which in some cases isn't happening because it's more expensive. That's where the guys who are like, oh, these doctors are so greedy, they're making so much money. A lot of that money that's being charged to you guys is because in order to have proper malpractice insurance, in order to have the right staffing, in order to have the right infrastructure, to give you the best possible result, it costs money, and that cuts into the price for the physician. It cuts into their profit greatly.
And by the way, just so people that heard the malpractice part understand, malpractice is required in order to operate as a doctor in, I think, every state and every province. So when you hear about malpractice insurance, it's like it's not automatically, oh, they're trying to protect themselves against the bad work that they do. And I say this because I've seen this online like forever. It's because they have no choice. They have to have.
It's the law, yeah.
Well, it's like driving a car. You have to have insurance.
Yeah.
So, period. But people don't understand that, Mordy. And everyone's price comparison. And all I can tell you is, even if they're an IHS member, if they are lowering their prices to a point that you think is unreasonable, it's possible. It doesn't mean that. There's a couple of things. A, they could be doing more work themselves, so they're not bringing in the technician, the extra technician. So they're like, you know what? I'm going to save $1,000 or $1,500 today, and I'm going to do all that fucking work myself. Maybe tiring. I may have some fatigue. It may not be the best possible thing that I can do for myself.
Well, that makes me worry, right? It's like, do I really want a tired doctor placing grafts?
All these guys, if they're in hair, they're all tired, dude.
Man.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I am. I'll tell you, you got guys who really stay in shape, who are close to my age. Look at a guy like Glenn Charles. You see the shape that guy's in?
Oh yeah, he's in awesome shape. He definitely is. I still wouldn't do surgery with him, but go ahead.
Okay, but it's oh my God, it's unbelievable though what great shape this guy keeps himself in. Now I see Alan Bauman putting and don't say you won't do surgery with him either, because I know your point of view, but I see him putting up stuff in the gym. He's doing deadlifts and working out as like a young person. You know, that's what needs to be done if they're going to participate or be a part of the surgery or even survive in this field now. You know? I've gone to guys' practices, they smell like fucking cigarettes.
Or alcohol.
That's frightening.
I was just contacted by a guy today through Facebook that may smell like alcohol as we speak.
That's a whole nother discussion.
But listen, Morty, you know the deal, and you have been we're very appreciative of your fandom. The fact that you are a fan of this broadcast, and
yes, I am,
and that you follow us the way that you do, and I appreciate all the compliments on the production and all that stuff. You know, sometimes I think to myself, should I kind of open this up a little bit, because I have the facility to do it, and I could have, you know, cameras with basically on, you know, like motion. What are they called, dude?
Motion cap.
Yeah. What is it? Motion caps?
Wait. What are you talking about?
I could essentially
like motion activated.
I can essentially jerry rig motion activated cameras. I can make this into a whole fucking thing. You know, it can be the most highly produced podcast on the internet, and I like the simplicity of the production, but the fact that you think it's highly produced, that makes me feel good. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, it looks clean. It looks good. You know, we see you. Your background is clean. It doesn't look like you're shooting in your garage or anything like that. The audio is clear. I mean, you know, for the content that you're producing, you're fine.
Good.
You know, I mean, you know, I looked at, because I watch Joe Rogan a lot also, and his content is very simple also.
Yeah.
And it's all about what's being said, and that's the reason I listen. And the camera's fixed, but they see you. So, and you look clear, you know, no complaints here.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Listen, Morty, enjoy South Florida in its humidity. Enjoy, you know, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your evening tonight. And I actually, I can't say this on the air. I can't say this on the air.
Go ahead.
I can't say it.
You can edit it later.
I can't edit it because someone could be listening.
Well, you can send me an email.
Oh wait,
or
that
send me a direct
don't say
message
that.
or something.
I know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
Don't say it. Yeah.
I can't say it. But it is possible that I could be enjoying my Jewish culture a little bit more again.
Well, you know what? It couldn't hurt, man.
Yeah. All right, dude.
All right. Well, listen,
I'll talk to you later.
Have a good weekend. You got it. Take
All
care.
right, take it easy.
Ah.
Bye.
See it.
888-659-3727. I really like being Jewish, and I miss it. I let it go for a long time. You know?
Yeah.
Not that I'm religious or anything. I just like the culture. We're funny fucking people.
You're hilarious people.
You know?
Because you make fun of yourselves.
Yes. And we had to figure out how to fucking make a living when people wanted to fucking kill us. And still do.
And still do.
And then we're hated for our ability as 1% of the entire world's population to be so successful in this world. What kind of bullshit is that?
Don't get it. Never did.
Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? And where are you calling from?
Hey, this is John calling from Phoenix.
John from Phoenix. What's up, man?
Hey, yeah. So I called in last week, and I was the guy with the diffuse thinning asking about hair transplant options. But
oh Jesus, you again?
Yeah, well, this week I have some questions about
What's up?
About PRP. So, I'm just trying to figure out what my options are.
What is
Joe mentioned that I
PRP?
should-
Who?
Well,
I'm just kidding, dude.
yeah.
I'm being an asshole. I'm sorry. I don't mean it.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Joe mentioned, I should get on finasteride, and I actually have it coming in the mail from a
mentioned
pharmacy.
that, in my opinion, you should get on finasteride because I'm not a physician telling you to get on finasteride.
Right. But yeah, so what use or benefit can someone with just diffuse thinning get from PRP, if any? Like, what is it even for?
That is a good question that a lot of PRP patients are still asking after they had their PRP. Okay, in a nutshell, PRP is supposed. Well, I'll put it like this: PRP is like finasteride, but without having to take a pill of any sort or a lotion of any sort. It doesn't work in the same way. It doesn't fight DHT in the least. It simply rejuvenates the hair that is being affected by DHT, giving it kind of like a kick in the ass to throw the DHT effects off and to start growing like it's supposed to. And it does work for some people at some clinics. And the reason why I'm kind of cryptic with that or kind of selective with those words is because the majority of the PRP that's out there is shit. And I say that because, when you've got places advertising free PRP with a $2,000 surgery, they're not using any equipment that's worth using. There are even people on YouTube, God bless them, doing home PRP. They're taking their own blood. They're throwing it into a $200 centrifuge they got off of Alibaba or Amazon or whatever, and they're injecting their own plasma back into their scalp, not having a single fucking clue what they're doing. But then you've got clinics that are also basically doing the same thing, just throwing the blood into a centrifuge to separate the components, injecting PRP or platelets back into the scalp. That's it. That's all they're doing. Better clinics have invested in better systems, closed systems, where, and what this means is that from the time that the blood is extracted into a syringe to the time that the platelets and the mixture that is added to it is injected back into the scalp, air does not come in contact with it, or more specifically, oxygen does not come into contact with the material, which is horrible for the material. The blood itself will just start to break down, or the platelets will break down, and it also reduces or eliminates the issue of contamination if there's no air that can get into the system. So a closed system is what you want to look for, but closed systems are not cheap. They're thousands of dollars. And then the different components that might be adding, like if they're adding a cell, that's like $400 a pop on its own. So there are different ways to do it. Very few people are doing it the right way. But ultimately, if you've tried everything else out there as far as like medications go or what have you, and you're not getting any sort of results, then try PRP. In the right hands, it can be very beneficial. It can be very beneficial. I've seen some results that have made me question whether it was legit or not. It was so good. I know it is because I know the people that were showing me the evidence. But it's just to thicken your hair, just like a medication, but without taking medication.
I see. So, I was sort of hoping to find some options to, I don't know, maybe benefit from the synergy between different things. So I was thinking
Stop.
I would
Stop.
No.
Okay. Don't go down this synergistic route bullshit. I hate that word.
Yeah, the one thing you don't want to do is throw the kitchen sink at any of this. And Joe did explain, how PRP essentially works. But what you have to think about when it comes to PRP, and he's right about, not all PRP is created equal. There are systems and protocols that are more effective, you have to kind of look at growth factors from PRP. You know, blood is basically broken down into what? White blood cells and plasma, right? So,
And red blood cells.
And red blood cells. And so essentially what they do is they try to increase the growth factors of the white blood cells and the red blood cells. Is that correct, Joe?
I'm sorry, the what? They
are increasing by separating the plasma from the white blood cells and the red blood cells. They are then able to spin those cells into a centrifuge, and create or increase the double, triple, quadruple, tenfold, 20-fold the growth factors in the white blood cells and the red blood cells.
Yes. Yeah.
And these growth factors act as messengers to cell rejuvenation. So the theory behind PRP is that, okay, the white blood cells, red blood cells, they help to rejuvenate in plasma, help to rejuvenate your cells. If you increase them or amplify them, it's going to increase healing, speed recovery, whether it's whether it's if you're dealing with tendons or tissue repair, muscle repair, things like that, or in this fact, hair growth. So I think if you go to a physician who understands exactly what they're doing, and you have to ask them, how much are my growth factors being duplicated or amplified? What systems are you using? Are they FDA approved systems? Are they closed? Are they open? Those are all really important questions. Most doctors will have no fucking clue. And most clinics will have no clue. They'll explain the very basics of what PRP is, but they won't essentially know what it is. So if you find a clinic that does, then you're in good shape. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
I think that it works, and it can work for a lot of people if it's done correctly and they're good candidates. I've seen some really fantastic results. But Joe's right. I am not a fan of doing anything synergistically because you don't know what the fuck is working. You have no clue. So what are you doing? You're going to put minoxidil on your head and you're going to get PRP. What happens if you go through a shed? Are you going to think it's the PRP or is it the minoxidil?
Right. Yeah. Good point.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, have either of you had any experience with PRP? Like personal experience?
I haven't had, or Joe has personally on his own scalp. I've had it on a personal level through a family member, a very close person to me, a female, who still travels to Sarasota, Florida to see Joe Greco every 4 or 5 months to have PRP. She does nothing else for her hair loss except for PRP and has been doing so for, it's got to be 7 years or something like that. And all I can tell you is that in her particular case, it has worked tremendously. Now, she has ebbs and flows where she'll go through an effluvium. She'll feel like she lost ground. She goes back. It seems to be working again. And then there's times when that part is so tight, it's like, I almost think like, did you get a hair transplant? What the fuck is going on? So there's no doubt in my mind that it works. And I don't think that it works for everybody. And I think that it's kind of a situation where the physician or the PA or whoever you're getting it from has to play with your specific formulation of PRP in order for it to be something that's going to be effective for you. Sometimes I get it right the first time. Sometimes I don't. With that said, it's going to cost you between $750 and in some cases, in crazy cases, these guys are charging $4,000 a pop. I would not even consider that. But on average of about $1,500 a pop. So you have to be willing to do that and risk the possibility of it not working for you. And then say, well, am I willing to try it again? And maybe, have the doctor tweak it to see if it works this time.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, that's more information than I had. But honestly, I still don't know how to approach it. Like, so when you talk about these growth factors, I mean, Is it clear which growth factors are beneficial? Like, is this something you ask for? Like, give me more of this factor?
That's really interesting. There are some physicians who will say that they want to put growth factors of more white blood cells into the mix. And in their practices, they see a better result. Then there are those who will say, well, for certain conditions, including androgenetic alopecia or alopecia areata, they may want to include more red blood cells into the mix. Some will kind of mix it up where it's kind of a gold color, and they believe mixed with A cell, that works better. The science, the data, the real, large studies just don't exist. So everyone's just fucking flying by the seat of their pants, to tell you the truth.
I see. So then, okay, aside from the cost then, I mean, are there any downsides with like, I guess sort of experimenting through a doctor with these different kinds of PRPs?
Yeah, you could have a telogen effluvium. You can go through a shed. You could have lidocaine toxicity, drop dead.
Jeez.
Dude,
man, hair loss is just a shit show wall to wall, man. Like, even like the treatment will fuck you over. God, that's okay.
I gotta tell you, if you gave somebody a list, a choice, hair loss or herpes, they would choose herpes 100%. At least they got that shit down.
Right. Exactly.
Fucking hair loss is a chronic, manageable hell. In some cases, it's manageable. In some cases, it's not.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Write that down. I just thought about that. Herpes or hair loss. That's kind of funny to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I've been thinking about that. I mean, if I had the balls to just shave my head, I mean, it's not even about balls. I'd look like a fucking idiot. But if I could do that, I would do it.
You may look like an idiot now and not even know it. So give it a shot.
I'm
just kidding, dude. I'm just joking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah. So,
look, all I can tell you is that this industry, everything that's being offered, even the drugs that work, is a hit or miss.
Yeah.
There is nothing that we can tell you that will where we can say, you know what, dude? If you do A, B, and C, you will never be bald. You will be free of this hell. That's what sucks about what I do. I can't do that for you guys. All I can do is tell you and Joe what to avoid and what to and provide you with the information so that you can make truly informed decisions on something that's incredibly imperfect.
Right. Yeah, no, that's become quite clear.
And depressing, I know. I depress a lot of people on this show.
Here's something more depressing. It's John. That's your name, John?
John, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's not his real name.
Well,
it's
the name
not
that
my
he's
real
going
name.
by.
Yeah.
So the only thing that is about to get worse. The only guarantee that you have in any of this is that if you make the wrong, or that you have a chance of making the wrong decision, that will really fuck up your life. Like we say on the program pretty often, once you're cut, and you can't go back. So, we always push people to not have surgery for the sole reason most people aren't equipped to deal with having to have a repair surgery. Most people aren't equipped with having a procedure, a hair transplant that looks unnatural or that has decimated their donor area or has left them with a wide donor scar if it's stripped, or is really pluggy in the hairline, and they don't have, they save for the first procedure and they don't have enough money to get a repair job solely for the purpose of even returning back to how they were as much as possible. And the best way for anyone to move forward is to seriously consider the option of doing fuck all about surgery, and even experiment with medications and stuff. But even on that level, I mean, you can really bring yourself down by continuing to try new and more things, only to find out that none of it works for you. And there are people out there where nothing works. They just continue to lose hair and, everything that goes along with it. So I think it's a very, very valuable option to just consider going bald naturally and forget about it. If you can't deal with that, which most people can't, then be really careful with how you move forward, because never forget one thing in all of this is that everyone you're talking to, except for us, wants your money. They want your money. They want you to be in their chair. They want you to try their treatment. They want you to try, whatever it is that they're offering, because they got to pay that bill for the lease, or they got to be able to, pay for the car payment or whatever.
I do think that if we eventually get the online show big enough, that I would like their money. Like a little fucking donation. Like, hey, give us a fucking $1 a show. What's the big deal?
No, I don't disagree. I mean, even now there are many, startup podcasts that do like Patreon accounts, so people can just donate to them whatever they want.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you're doing a podcast on Major League Baseball, whatever it is, people don't think twice. If you're doing a podcast on hair loss, they're like, these motherfuckers are charging us for this information. It's just such a weird fucking dynamic. It's very difficult to articulate. But listen, Joe's right. This is what we preach. It's not popular. There's a guy. He's an old dude. I don't even know how old this guy is, but he's from the Chris Webb days of the National Hair Journal, and his first name is John. I'll put it out there.
But okay.
Yeah. Well, and he's been in the industry for like 35 or some odd years, and he reveres all of the old guys, the old guard, some of the worst of the worst in this industry. And he wrote a book, which is now an ebook and is also now an audiobook. I'm not even going to give you the title of the book, but essentially he is doing his own expose on the industry. And this is nothing against this guy, but it's just the same bullshit. It really is, to me, this is just my opinion, it is a vehicle to hook doctors into somehow working with him. And the doctors that he's getting involved in are really just the old guard that are doing all the old damage. And when you read this stuff, you're just like, you may be in the industry for a long time, but you are another one who's placating to this fucking industry. That is not how you make fucking real money in this industry. That was the problem with this guy, Chris Webb, who owns something called the National Hair Journal. He was always very upset that, I had a certain level of success and, I guess, for lack of a less obnoxious term, power in this field. And I never forget having a phone conversation with this guy. And I said, dude, you chose the wrong side. That's why you're struggling. You chose to placate these physicians and hope that they're going to pay your ass. I chose the consumer. And that's the reality of what we do. I guess my point is that Joe said something that, everyone's trying to sell you something. No one's going to tell you the truth. There's a guy out there that is now promoting the fact that he's an insider telling the truth. And even when you look at the title of the book and the quality of the cover and the fact that it's self-published and all this stuff, you know that there's a good chance you're not getting all the information you need.
Yep.
And something is being sold.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm sort of, I've wisened up to that, not just in hair loss, but, pretty much anywhere money's exchanged. So, yeah, that sucks. So
it does suck. It sucks for all of you guys who are going to be fooled by this guy who's now, I don't know how old he is. This guy's got to be 70 years old. Oh, he's going to be mad at me. I don't know how old he is. I mean, maybe he's my age. He could be, who knows? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so at the end of the day then, so where should someone like me turn, right? I mean, I've been to the Bald Truth website, and then that links over to the American Hair Loss
Association.
I'm sorry, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I would, if I were you, I would go to like Vietnam. Start over.
What?
Shave your head. You can have plenty of women, man.
This is the new me now. I'm Vietnamese with a bald head.
You could have a great fucking life, man.
Great pedicures.
You know. I mean,
right.
Honestly, you found the resources to turn to. This is it. There's nothing more that you're going to know. I hate to say it.
No, and I buy that. No, I'm comfortable with that actually. But there's variability between probably doctors within that network. Like when we were talking about PRP earlier, so I can go to a local Arizona clinic and they'll give me what they have for PRP, and then I can go to Florida like your family member did, and I don't know, is that even any better? I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
well, all I can say is that this person can go and afford to go any place in the country. She chooses to travel, and it's a pain in the ass to get to Sarasota, let me tell you that, to get this done, as opposed to getting it done locally. And there are plenty of people, including IHS members, who offer it locally, who would provide it to this person free of charge.
Mm-hmm.
So, does it make a difference who you go to? She believes so. I believe it. I believe it as well.
How did she end up there in the first place?
He was the first guy that was offering it, and he was a guy. Joe Greco was the guy that actually did the initial research and really promoted it for hair loss at the ISHRS conferences, and was able to show some significant results in both people with androgenetic alopecia and alopecia areata. I feel kind of bad for the guy because everyone just stole his shit and ran with it.
Well, yeah. You got to get your patents in line before you go sharing with the world, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a sad thing about being in the either a physician or a PA. He's a PA and a PhD or a researcher. You have to make a choice. Do I get it out there, try to save people, speak about it at medical conferences, for like you're supposed to do when you take the Hippocratic Oath, or in his case, he chose to be a scientist and also a PA, or do you try to hoard it and patent it, and patent something that you really can't patent because PRP has been around for a long time, and everyone would make their own variation of PRP, which they do. It's dude. The whole thing is fucked up. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm sorry. This is the fucked up show. This is what we talk about. We talk about. Go ahead.
No, as fucked up as it is, right? You guys are sort of like, in a sense, like a candle in the dark, right? I mean, you at least provide some measure of guidance and reassurance, right? I mean, which is why I'm calling in, right? Basically, I'm the guy who left the forum, didn't know what else to do, and found your show, right?
Yeah. And I appreciate
it's not
that.
all that bad. No, of course. But it's not all that bad, I guess. What sucks is that, like you were saying earlier, what works for one might not work for another, and there's really no sure bet. So, but okay.
No,
cool.
I mean, let's put it this way, and again, people don't like when I say this. The hair loss is cancer of the spirit, but it also, in some cases, I mean, it's. When you're treating cancer, there are some people who do well on cancer treatment, and they will survive. And there are many who do not. Sadly, when it comes to cancer, most do not in the long run. But hair loss is it's a tricky fucking thing, man. Like early intervention is absolutely key. A lot of people are afraid to take finasteride, so that doesn't work, or they don't do well on it. But if you are lucky enough to catch your hair loss in the beginning stages with finasteride, and it works for you, that is currently our best possible option that exists as men who are dealing with hair loss. And then if you've lost enough hair, then surgery could be a really good option. That's a whole can of worms that you got to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think I'm quite at surgery level. I'll probably give finasteride a whirl for a year and see what that does for me, and then maybe I'll panic again. Maybe I won't. We'll see.
Well, I hope you don't panic, and I hope that you just continue to listen to the program, and we can give you some, at least being able to talk about it and hear other people talk about it gives you some solace.
Yeah, certainly it does, and it's informative too, right? I mean, so it's not just sort of like a support system, I guess. It is informative, so that's sort of another benefit of tuning in.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Now, can we get to another call, or are you still going to talk?
Yeah, no. I'm honestly, I'm the one who's been trying to get off of the past.
We won't shut up.
Well, thank you, thank you for placating us, my man. No, I really listen. I appreciate the call. You're a great caller, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
you guys
man.
have a good weekend.
Take care.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I like a guy with a sense of humor, or he was telling the truth. 888-659-3727. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hello, Joe and Spencer. How are you doing? This is Omri from New Jersey.
Hey, man, what's happening?
Hey, it's so good. Been listening a lot to your show lately. Actually, I've been doing like the Bold Truth Marathon.
Wow.
And yeah. And the reason is that I'm calling is I'm actually very close to make the decision, pull the trigger on the hair transplant option. And I've been researching about hair loss and hair loss treatment and hair transplant about 16 or 17 years now. So I started to research when I was 21, losing my hair. Now I'm almost 38. And long story short, with my research and all, it still took me about 5 or 6 years till I actually got onto finasteride and balanced my hair loss. At the beginning, I had like a pretty bad experience with the Propecia version, and it can be a whole topic for maybe another time that I will call. But since I came on the finasteride, it's been the situation been stabilized, and I actually froze pretty much. Not froze, but it went for much slower receding and hair loss in general. So I'm kind of stuck right now somewhere around northward 3V to northward 4V, maybe going to 5 eventually. I don't know, but it's been like that for at least 10 years. No change. There is some yarmulke, bald patch at the back, and there is like high hairline that was naturally high, but a little bit receding. So I do have the balding look, but combing my hair forward in a good lighting, in a good photos, it looks like I'm almost not balding at all, and it looks like sometimes in a good photo like a full head of hair, but in a daylight it looks like balding and obvious like at least 3V.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the situation.
So what do you want from us?
Okay, so I will tell you what I want from you. So I saw a friend of mine that came back from Turkey, and he had a very successful hair transplant with one of the cheapest places ever that you can find on the Turkey market. And surprisingly, it went very good for him. And I've been looking at him and I said, wow, this is actually can come from a very low budget clinic in Turkey. So it kind of triggered me to go back on the research, listen to your show, and I totally understand that it can be like Russian roulette, and he might, fell on the right.
Does he? Let me ask you a question. Does he have the names of every technician that worked on him?
Yeah, the technician, no. I can tell you the clinic, though.
Doesn't make a difference. Does he have the names of every technician that worked on him personally?
No.
Then
that.
You are playing Russian roulette.
Exactly. I figured out.
Even at this clinic, you're playing Russian roulette because you don't know if you'll get the same technicians, or even some of the same technicians, even if they still work there.
Right.
By the time you get there, if you decide to go to the same clinic.
Absolutely agree with you guys. And I've been, during my recent research, I've been like bouncing in my mind between going to different clinic in Turkey, and I was like posting my photos to everyone to get a consultation from them. And I get a lot of, suggestion coming to different clinics. But, after listening to your show and everything and, the amount of research that I've done, I know that we have like dealing with handful of, surgeons that can actually pull out this operation the way that I want it and to eliminate the risk factor as much as possible. The continuation of the story is that last week, I actually, one of the doctors that I posted my photos on was Dr. Cole from Atlanta. And I think last week, even you mentioned that on the show, or someone mentioned that he met him for a consultation in New York City. And it's very close to where I live. So I had an opportunity also to go to consultation with Dr. Cole, which went really well. And I can tell you that whatever the other caller was saying, like the impression that he had from Dr. Cole, I had the same impression that the guy is really sincere with his concern about the state of the industry. And also is very enthusiastic about what he was doing. He listened to me. And, he didn't try to sell me anything. And on top of it, the first time that I heard about Dr. Cole was like when I started my research 16, 17 years ago. So for me, it was like, wow, eventually I'm here and talking with this dude. And it seems like a very good possibility that I will, go and, make the operation eventually with Dr. Cole.
All right,
now,
so I'm going to ask you again. So what do you want from us?
Okay, so during the meeting, we had doing the Picasso on my forehead.
Joe, that's when you're supposed. Hold on, Joe. That's when you're supposed to laugh and let the audience know that I was being funny. But I think you're frozen right now. Joe's frozen. Sorry, dude. Go ahead, man. I'm here. I'm here for you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So I have two questions. First is about the hairline. I have, the balding patch at the back, which Dr. Cole said that probably will need 15 to 2,000 grafts. And I have the receding in front. And he said that the session can be about 3,500 grafts, and maybe 4,000 if we can get it. And he said to me that surprisingly, I'm a good candidate. He was like taking, some hair off the back of my head, look at the texture, also look into the amount of graft, and told me that I have a lot of 3s and 4 hair graft, which apparently is a good sign. So for the question that I wanted to ask is, how conservative should I ask to go with the hairline?
Well, let's put it this way. He's going to give you he will not allow you to have a hairline that is not going to be age appropriate. It will probably be conservative. So it's not how conservative should I go. This guy has pretty good judgment, and you just have to be able to agree with it being what it is. Now, if you think that once he makes his suggestion of where your hairline should be, if you think it's too low, then of course you could ask him to make it more conservative. But that's very unlikely to happen with Dr. Cole. He will take the right angles and measurements of your face, and, calculate your age into the equation, your pattern of loss, your type of hair, and all that stuff, and make a really, I believe, the appropriate decision. Even though it's certainly a team effort. Both of you guys have to make the decision on where you want your hairline. I don't think he's going to make anything that's going to be inappropriate for you.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking in terms of inappropriate. I was thinking about actual, thinking about long-term plan. I want, I want a plan that will take me into my 60s, 70s, whatever. And if I need to have another session at in the future to just do fixing and stuff like that, feeling I will do that. But definitely, yeah, there was like a hairline that it was like almost my dream hairline. Of course, I would rather have it low than going back. But, looking at photos and from the research that I was doing, like in my amount of my baldness, I was surprised that we can actually achieve something like that for me that will also cover the crown. But yeah, I think, trust him sounds like he knows. I mean,
he does, but there's no reason why you can't discuss with him your concerns about the future and what his thoughts are. And, you may, and he, sometimes by you speaking up, it may alert him to the fact that, okay, wait a second, maybe this guy's right. Maybe we can start a little bit more conservatively, and if he's unhappy with that, we can go lower. But that does make sense. You want something that's going to be able to grow into, and not feel as though it's inappropriate when you're 60 or 65 years old. With that said, there are a lot of guys who have a hairline built for a mature guy in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, who will continue to lose some hair, and that hairline still continues to look appropriate in their 60s and 70s. And it wasn't necessarily higher than it should be for a guy in his 40s. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of guys who, you recede to a point when you're in your mid-40s that may be the level of recession that you would reach naturally if you're in your 60s and 70s, even if you start to lose some temporal points. And if that is the case, then those could always be built up to kind of, get you back to a more comfortable look, as opposed to kind of wasting the hair in other places. Now, I'm not a big fan of putting hair in the crown, but if you have been stable for a long time and you think it's appropriate, and Dr. Cole does, then, that's going to be your choice. I would always prefer to kind of save that donor for the future if you do need more hair in the mid-anterior scalp or in the hairline.
Yeah, for me, the crown is super important. Actually, coming into this meeting, the first thing that I wanted Dr. Cole that I would like to achieve is having some coverage in the crown and obviously build some frame, but I'm okay to compromise on my hairline position just to get enough crown coverage. And I'm okay even if it will be like, it will look like shading a little bit.
Right.
Still okay. I'm not like that. I have the expectation that it will look totally full. But on the other hand, I hope it's a big goal. I mean, it's a big goal for me going with this operation to get the crown, although it's a black hole of grafts and everything.
Well, look, you understand all the potential pitfalls and the downside of it. I don't think Dr. Cole is going to lead you in a direction that is going to be unsafe and that you're not going to be fulfilled with if, in fact, the grafts grow and everything goes well.
Yeah, okay. And my other question for you guys is actually, now that I come to realization that I'm probably going to do that, and it's even some kind of a dream of mine to go through this, hopefully, after mitigating all the risk and everything, and pulling the trigger on the hair transplant option. How do I deal with the, going the day after the surgery to the work? And, I'm not working in office, but I'm working remote, and I have like people, that I'm running meetings with camera on and everything.
You got to tell them you got a hair transplant, dude.
Yeah, I mean.
No sound, Joe.
They're saying there is no, just tell them, go, bluntly about that and not trying to hide anything.
People are going to be looking at your head. Some may be like, what the fuck happened to your head? And you got to tell them, look, I had a hair transplant. They'll be like, really? That's so cool. And you let them check it out, and that's it. You know? They won't even talk about it anymore.
You don't think that like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later after operation, you can say, I just buzzed my hair because it's very hot this summer. And
Well, you said the next day.
No, not that. Okay, so excuse me. 3 weeks later.
I mean, you might be able to get away with it, but, you know, in life in general, my viewpoint is it's always better to just be open with shit. It makes you feel better. You don't feel like you're hiding something. You're not going to have any anxiety getting ready in the morning to go to work. You're not going to be like, I wonder what people are going to think. You can even prepare them in advance, saying, hey, I'm going to be out for a couple of weeks because I'm getting a fucking hair transplant.
Wow.
And that's it. You know?
My audio.
I can hear you now. Own it, man. Own it.
I was going to say, did you see my video after my last hair transplant?
Yes, I have.
I was at the grocery store on the way home.
True.
No bandages. Gave 0 fucks. Own it. Own that shit, because I'm telling you, it's like no one gives a shit, really. Like, they might look at you and be like, oh, what happened to him? Who cares? How does this affect your life? If strangers or even people you know see that you've got a bunch of little dots in the back of your head, that'll be gone in a few days anyway. It's like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, this has never been something that's really affected me. Even after my strip surgeries, like after my second repair procedure with Dr. Wong, I shaved my own head with some beard clippers. I missed some spots. I looked like I was attacked by a rabid dog, and I went in for the first day of work at a new job with staples still in the back of my head. So if I can do that, you can deal with some little extraction dots in the back of your head a few days after a procedure.
Here's the thing, and this is what I recognize in life. If it doesn't affect the other person, like if you're not telling them, hey, look, I know we made out, but I have tuberculosis, they don't give a fuck. You know? They don't care. If it's not going to affect their lives, they don't care. Yeah, some idiots may make some jokes, like the guy in the chat room says he was called cyborg hair. They'll get over it. Yeah. Not, especially if the hair transplant ends up looking good. Now, if it doesn't look good, you're finished.
Yeah, you're done.
You got to move. You got to go to another country.
You got to quit your job, sell your house.
Sell your house, quit your job, get a new passport, change your name, pull a Jason Bourne, get the fuck out of there. But no, honestly, if you know, once they see it growing in, and once they're just going to be like, "Holy shit!" They're not even going to believe it's possible.
I really hope so.
Did you say you work from home?
I do.
But
what do you do?
But what do you hope so much? Like you say, I really hope so. What is the worst thing that can happen? These people are going to judge you for doing something to improve your life, and if they do, I got to tell you, I know this sounds kind of like, you know, paternal, but these aren't people you're going to want to hang out with to begin with. Fuck them. Fuck everybody. You know what? When you're on your deathbed with a full head of hair, are you going to be thinking about the idiots who made fun of you because you decided to do something good for yourself? I don't know. Maybe you will. But I won't.
No, I don't think so.
I won't. Am I going to think about any of the bullshit that I deal with? Am I going to think about Ricardo? Ricky Ricardo? And all that nonsense? Am I going to think about our Brazilian friend Arthur and his bullshit? No fucking way. That's some inside baseball stuff that I'm talking to Joe about.
Yeah.
No fucking way. None of this shit phases me. Am I going to think about, you know what, for years, I know that there are probably women who are watching me online, or I've told at parties that I have comb over and I paint my bald spot, am I going to worry about what they think? Why should I? Doesn't make a difference. When I sit down at night and crack open a bottle of wine and I'm enjoying my beautiful life, I don't give a fuck about what these people think. So you got to do the best for yourself, man. That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
Thank you very much for taking the call, guys, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's really helping us. Personally.
I am glad that you're being helped, man. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Right.
Zero fucks. I don't care. If I did, how could I imagine being 30 years old, going on 31, telling the world that you're writing a hair loss book, getting published, and going on the radio and talking about hair loss. That was fucked up. That was not an easy decision to make. But once I did it, I was fucking free, man. Free. People made fun of me. There's one bartender's like, oh, that's why your hair was weird. I never really understood it. I'm like, my hair is weird. Look at your fucking face, man. Your jacked up teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Jesus Christ. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's me. What's up?
Nico, what's happening?
Hang up.
Hang up fast. I know. I was
What's up, Nico?
I was like, Spencer must have a spreadsheet of who calls, how often they call, who's crazy, who's not. Guaranteed.
Oh, it's beyond the spreadsheet, dude. I literally have targets on my wall.
Oh, God.
You know?
Well, at least I try to be nice, you know?
You do. You do a good job. You definitely do a good job being nice. I mean, every once in a while, you could be a little questionable. Could be a little,
rage issues.
A little rage and obnoxiousness. I'm just kidding. You're a good kid, man.
Yeah. I'm a good
Totally
kid.
kidding.
No, the only person who has a little rage is Mordy when I talk about hookers. I don't know why. He's got a thing like I shouldn't tell him to go to hookers.
Or when I tell him not to have a hair transplant and I go get a hair transplant.
That's true.
At least I didn't take offense to your Schindler's List comments, so
yes.
I got a score there. My dad's a Holocaust survivor, so he doesn't hear the show, so it's all good.
But that was a great that was a great reference.
Oh no, it's perfect.
It's perfect reference, man. Listen, I'm a Jewish man.
Yes, you are.
I'm one of the chosen people, man. Guys, they're still trying to kill us. But go ahead.
Hey, so I asked Joe a question about it in the chat. One thing was, is PRP always strictly considered cosmetic? Because you guys were saying how it can be used for other health-related matters. So I didn't know if insurance ever covers. Nope.
It's it originally got its start in sports medicine.
Right.
About 35 years ago.
Cosmetic.
35, 40 years ago in the 70s, yeah.
I actually don't know if it's covered by insurance when it comes to orthopedics or sports medicine.
Yeah, I don't either, but
so what Nico is going to do, he's going to go to an orthopedic surgeon
and say, stick it in my head.
And say, I have a tendon issue in my scalp all over it, especially in the balding areas.
Well, I didn't know if it helped with scar pain or any of that shit or, any of that kind of thing or infection or any of that bullshit. But,
well, I think theoretically, because it's supposed to help increase healing, it's possible if put into scar tissue or into painful scar tissue or into the area of numbness, maybe it would help to hasten the reconnecting process. I don't know. That's just a theory, and I'm not a doctor, and I really don't know much about anything. But I guess it could help.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then you're definitely not going to be psyched on this question, so I'll get the blacklist on the Excel spreadsheet. But
right.
what do you think I should do about talking to my doc about the situation. Like, you had a caller.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is the test of the emergency broadcast.
I thought that was the blacklist.
It was. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Holy shit. You had a caller like 6 months ago who had a procedure with the Dr. Oz doc, who's not an IHRS doc. You guys sort of, talked him through potential, how to confront them, just not confront, but however you want to talk about it, about the work that was done wasn't, it was not the best, he stands by his work, blah, blah, blah. Any recommendations about talking to my guy about my deal?
Well, I think we talked to a couple of guys. One guy was a guy that we suggested after 20 some odd years have a consultation with this guy.
Yeah, that guy too. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And he wrote a letter and all that stuff.
Yeah. And he actually never got back to us. I think we arranged to possibly get him some help and just never heard back from the dude.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. But so that offer's off the fucking table. I'm just kidding. Just kidding if you're listening. How often have you confronted? How often have you confronted this guy?
Well, docs are really good. Like FSK mentioned in the chat, like they don't really want to hear, or not to overgeneralize, but most often they don't want to know or address the problem, or they'll think of like an alternative solution, like like in my case, he's like, if you got some FUT widened toner, we'll put some SMP in. And I'm like, it's just not a real, or even when I said how my shit was tight, and it clearly was a tight closure, and, it was like, he said no, but the evidence is there.
Right.
He said, oh, you probably slept on it wrong. I'm like, really? Come on. I mean, that's a fucked up way about going about shit. And I swear, man, like, I'm super calm, aggressive as needed, appropriately strong as needed. No assholishness or whatever the word is about anything. Like really just talking straight and the whole deal.
Is this like by phone, email?
Oh no, in person.
So how many times in person have you had the opportunity to talk about your issues?
So in the 2 years that I've seen him, I've probably seen him maybe 4 times, 2 for follow-ups, but then to actually talk about the actual concerns, like maybe 1 or 2 times. And it's just always, they're really good at redirecting conversation. And like, here's what we can do for you the next round. We can cut out the script. They talk about revision and sort of just not really getting into what the actual heart of the problems are. It's just for me, man,
Well, do you ask him, do you say to him, well, listen, Dr. So-and-so, I understand that you're trying to potentially solve this issue for me or find a remedy for this issue. But do you recognize how this has affected my life and that, are you hearing my problem?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard, man. You get caught up in the dialogue and the talk. It just ends up becoming them redirecting. It's really hard sometimes to stay on point, even when saying exactly what you just said. I said, they're really good at redirecting conversation, man. It's hard to articulate, but I think the game. What else can I say? It's
I guess what I'm asking you is, do you say to him, you know what, I feel like the conversation is being redirected, and I really want to focus on the problem. Do you recognize that there's a real problem, and can you potentially, just admit that there's an issue here, that is probably or potentially not. It was not caused by me or my physiology.
Oh, absolutely.
You said that.
Oh, yeah. And even not addressing the secondary stuff about not being put on thin first, coming off, maybe not being the best candidate at the time. I mean, maybe that's not the way to go, but I really address how it's affected my life, what the issues are. You can see them, that kind of thing. And guy's also just super nice and talented at being, you know, like the good guy. And he is. He's a nice guy. It's terrible. It sucks to have to even get into it, but it's a real deal, man. You know, it's like, why else would I bother you guys? You know, it's like, I wouldn't fucking bother you guys with this for shit if it wasn't a real problem. As you know, it's just
here's the problem. You know, you are dealing with human beings, and in this particular case, you're dealing with a nice guy, and you're probably dealing with someone who has had
a good record,
a good record in general,
yeah.
And
sure.
You know.
Well, that should make it easier then for him to say, you know what, we all make mistakes. Like that should almost be like the obvious thing then. Like, hey, you can't always be 100% all the time.
It should be, but it should be. But there's also these guys that are worried about if they admit specifically that they made a mistake, that would give you grounds for potentially suing them for malpractice.
Right, but that's not even about, I'm not aggressive in that way. I'm just looking for resolve, you know? And it's not,
you're not, but you're not, but people are,
justice.
You're not, but people are, they're paranoid about that.
Nico, what is
go for
it. Nico, okay, so are you looking for some sort of acknowledgement so that you can move on, or are you looking for acknowledgement and a solution?
It's a good question. I mean, I know what the problem is, so acknowledgement, it would be key, obviously, and be easier to move on, but it's like, it sucks to throw down $13,000, have a shitty thing, and that's the risk of going into a procedure, but the timeline of it all sucks, man. Like, it was just so poorly, you know, put together on the clinic's end with dealing with my case. From the get-go. Granted,
but I completely understand what you're talking about, and I think that, you know, hindsight is 20/20, where it's like, okay, maybe, yeah, they should have done this, they should have done that,
for sure.
but for them to admit and to say, yeah, we should have done this and we should have done that, it's going to be, it would be difficult to get them to do that. So again, my question is, are you looking for acknowledgement so you can move on? Just so you can put to bed, or are you looking for them to come up with another solution to fix the problems that came up from the first procedure?
Yeah, I'm looking for support for repairs from someone that I can, someone I can trust. Yeah,
because this is just based on working with doctors for so long. The idea of getting acknowledgement so you can move on, I think that's fine, and I understand that. It's like you want someone to admit their fault. You want someone just so you can stop questioning yourself, right? I mean, it's like sometimes when shit happens, you're like, what did I do wrong, or what is it about me? When it's nothing about you. Yeah. You didn't do anything wrong. It's because of bad
hand holding. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, and I know what's wrong. You know what I mean? I don't need someone to tell me to only be defensive about it, even if it's done politely. Like, I need the support to be able to move on to get revision. You know, it's like.
Okay, so let's not beat around the bush. You mean the financial support to get it done, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, not. I think so. It's like it either is or isn't. You're looking for some sort of financial support for the repair of what happened in your initial procedure. Yes or no?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. The reason I'm being kind of straightforward about this is because you have to be straightforward about it when you go in. You can't bullshit. You can't give them wiggle room. Okay. But the problem is that you got to find the balance to where you don't come across as an aggressive, unhappy patient.
Of course.
And then they start putting up roadblocks, right?
Right.
So I think that, and forgive my line of question, but I needed to drill down to this, right? But I had an idea of what you were going for, but we need to drill down to it, and you need to hear yourself say this too, so you can realize, that is what I want, and this is what I need to do. So if you're going to go back in and talk to them, don't fuck around with phone calls. Don't fuck around with emails.
I never do. I never do. Yeah. I'm always there.
Make an appointment.
And I have the dialogue already in my head. I mean, they would propose, oh, we'll do some PRP to fix the, maybe we'll do a strip revision, or we'll put some SMP into those spots. I already know in my head that that's not what I want, and I don't consider that a revision. And I'm not going to say it in a, asshole-ish way, obviously. And I understand the balance piece. It's really just looking for some justice. You know what I mean? Without being a dick about
don't
it,
say it like
obviously.
that either, because then you'll really put them on the defensive. What do you mean justice? Like we're the bad guys?
Yeah,
I mean,
I hear you.
And I say this from experience. I know how these doctors are thinking when a patient comes in that's unhappy. But I think that the challenge here is twofold. Number one, to have some sort of admission of fault, but number two, and this is going to be even more difficult, is to have them finance or in the form of some sort of partial refund. Don't expect a full refund,
No.
but some sort of partial refund so you can go someplace else and have someone else do the work, because that's not only admitting fault, it's admitting in their eyes that they're not capable of dealing with the situation, which they may or may not be. I don't know. I mean, I can't say I've seen a lot of corrective work out of this clinic over the years, but I know that they've got a good reputation, and I've seen good work out of the clinic, but we're talking about you, and I think that one thing you got to be prepared for is for them to basically say get stuffed.
No. Yeah.
And that may very well happen, and you have to have a plan B in case that does happen. In fact, I think that it would be in your best interest to keep a record of all the dialogue, go have a meeting, go talk to them, and be very straightforward and say, look, I just need to know two things. Do you agree that this should have turned out better? And B, what are you willing to do to help me out with this? Because I need to get some sort of, not, you don't want to say closure. I need to get this fixed.
Yeah.
And you need to, just push away the PRP options, push away the SMP options, because those are all Band-Aids. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Even a scar revision with a top doc that's known for doing scar revisions, like there is no guarantee here.
Exactly.
Okay. So go get those two things from them. And if you can get a yes on the second question, are you willing to help me out with some sort of, a partial refund so I can deal with this? If you get that, then consider yourself lucky. I'm just telling you right now.
Right.
It's likely not to happen, but there is a chance. But just be, be polite but firm. That's all you can do. Yeah. And here's the thing. If they say no, then you need to ask yourself, what else am I willing to do to push the issue? And I think that the legitimate answer to that is nothing. I've done everything I can. Because at that point, it gets dark, and you'll start going into dark places that you might not want to go to, that you'll regret. So the way I look at things, the way I look at life is, you know what? I tried. Yeah, it's 13 grand. It's a lot of money. There's no way in hell you're getting that back. Write it off as a learning experience. It's this. This is something that I took a gamble on. I came out without the winning result that I wanted. I got to deal with it. So how do I do that now? And that's where you move on forward on your own with us. We'll always be here for you to guide you. But the whole point of all this is don't look to the clinic for the ultimate solution, because they're giving you Band-Aid solutions in the interim. They're avoiding the discussion altogether overall. So don't expect any sort of turnaround on their part.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes 100% sense. I totally get it.
No, I know it's not like the rose petals and church bell type of response that everyone wants to hear, but it's just reality.
sure.
And
oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I think it's to your benefit to kind of embrace that and and own it, however it turns out.
And while you're sitting there, you could wear a Freddy Krueger T-shirt, the one that says "You can run, but you can't hide, bitch." Just a little subliminal message there.
Yeah. No, I'm not like the type of dude to jump on forums and talk trash or Google reviews or any of that bullshit. It's not about that. It's not like a extortion thing or anything like that. Just sharing the real deal. And
and it sucks. It fucking sucks that you are calling the show and dealing with this and not feeling that there's any justice or resolution or it's
improvement. Yeah.
Improvement. I don't know. I would hope that this physician would want to at least help you, or provide. What's the word I'm looking for? Give some credence to your issues by at least providing you with some sort of monetary, something, some sort of money back. Something that help you in some way, at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the hard part is he's done good work, you know what I mean? And he's done good revisions, and it almost seems like he would be the one to try to improve it. And the question is, do I give him the chance to do that without worrying? I don't know. But there's just some shit to figure out. And
well, I think, and just to kind of continue this line of discussion, there's some discussion going on in the chat room about how it's wrong of doctors to not, and this is just the paraphrased discussion. It's wrong of doctors not to give a refund, and there should be something done. And I actually don't believe that. And I mean, this goes back to patients knowing what they're getting into.
I agree with Joe. Yeah,
I think that
I agree with you too.
Patients to automatically assume that because they're unhappy for whatever reason, even if it's a obvious fuck up.
Yeah,
I don't believe that they're automatically entitled to a refund, and the reason being is you should know going in from the very beginning that it's a risk. That's what Spencer and I talk about day in and day fucking out.
And that's what you sign off on anyway.
Yeah. And exactly. You sign off on that, on all the paperwork. Every clinic on the planet, I don't care who it is, they have paperwork that says this is not a guaranteed procedure in some way. Now their marketing may say otherwise, which I also have a big problem with. I have a big problem with that. But all of them have paperwork that in some sort of language says that this might not turn out the way that you hope it does. Mm-hmm. And I think that part should be emphasized, just like I emphasize, just like Spencer emphasizes, so that when people go in and do have a procedure, they know full well they're taking their own head into their hands, and that they shouldn't expect a guarantee.
Well,
the only guarantee realistic is the best effort.
Like our UK friend who had a Facebook ad that I saw not too long ago that basically said, it was like a question, I think it was a question. But basically the response was, or the sentiment was, hair transplants are risk-free. Yeah. Risk-free. This is one of the biggest fucking politicians in the ISHRS. Big mouth, demands to speak to people when he has no right to speak to anybody. I think you know who I'm talking about, Joe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's hard though, man. When you get your doctor is a nice guy who tells you might have slept on something wrong when you in fact followed all post-op, and there are no guarantees, and that's what you sign up for. You take the risk, but then you hear that from the doctor. It's like, come on, let's step it up a little bit and say, hey, you know what? I see that, and it is there. Everyone else other docs who've checked it out, that's like the first thing they see is that shock loss from that suture being closed too tight. It's like in different spots. I slept on it wrong. I mean, come on. If I'm not getting that acknowledgement, then that's probably what I'm going to end up dealing with.
I think you're right. I think there's. Look, I think that if you're getting that kind of answer, then that's probably what you can probably continue to expect. But I also want to. Sorry, I'm going back to the chat room stuff. BB says, "Wow, Joe and Spencer should not ignore that and address it with those doctors who are slipping. Kick them out? ? Because we trust these guys. That's the point of this, BB. Don't trust any of these guys. That's the whole problem with this. You shouldn't be trusting doctors because they're human. You shouldn't be trusting a team of technicians. They're human.
Let me read that bullshit.
Every single one of the doctors that I work with personally, every one of the doctors on the IAHRS, every doctor out there that has any time on tissue that's been doing this procedure for any amount of time to be able to claim that they're really good at what they do, every fucking last one of them have patients that think that they got fucked up by that doctor. So no, don't trust any of them.
I have a guy
that they're going to give their best effort. That's all you can legitimately expect, and that's all that they should legitimately guarantee.
I have one guy who is the nicest and one of the best and nicest and caring physicians in the IHRS and in the entire industry. About 7 or 8 years ago, he had a guy online who was doing everything in his power to destroy his reputation. And also, said some pretty shitty things about me and other people who worked with this doctor. And this is one guy who had one lousy experience out of countless patients who are ecstatic, literally ecstatic, guys who have come on this program, guys who have essentially written me thank yous and given this guy all kinds of gifts. And this guy he's relatively inexpensive. He is really fair, and he's only known how to do hair transplants the right way. Even though he's an older dude, he started later in the game, about a little over a decade ago. Never get a complaint about this guy. This is the very first one, and it turned into a shit show because this guy chose to go online and would not take any excuse for an answer. That's what happens. So for BB to say to kick anybody out for 1, 2, 3, 4 unhappy patients, it's fucking ridiculous. Because you know what would happen? No one would know where to go. No one would know where to even start.
Okay.
The very best doctors with all the bullshit short list recommendations on other websites, they all have some severely damaged people and souls that are walking around because they had surgery with them.
Yep.
That's just the reality. If you can't deal with that, don't have surgery.
Soren in the chat room says, well, should we be trusting you? And my response to that is no. I mean, if you believe in my standards, and we're talking about me here, if you believe in my standards, like I've been through the fucking mill, and I know what good work is because I've experienced it, I've seen it, I've been around it for past 15 years. I know what bad work is, and I'm not sitting here asking for you guys to give me any money on anything. Everything I do across the board is free, and the only payment I take is from doctors that choose and are accepted to be a part of what I do. That's how I make my money. So should you trust me? I can't answer that question. That's for you to determine. I don't tell anyone to trust me. I just tell people what I look for, and it's up to you, the viewer, the consumer, the patient, to decide if you trust what I'm saying applies to you. That's where my motto, my hair transplant mentor.
You say video number one, don't have a transplant. Done.
My entire career has been surgery's the last resort. Everyone has a fuck up out there. So all I can tell you is, can you trust me? This is what you can trust. That we're telling you the truth.
Yeah.
That surgery is the last resort, and it could totally destroy your life.
Yeah.
These physicians that we choose to work with, you can trust, have the most consistent results in the field, positive, good results in the field. And you can also trust that each physician is going to have a different personality. Some are going to be more asshole-ish than others. Some are going to be easier to deal with. Some are going to have a better bedside manner. Some who have a better bedside manner may not be quite as at the same level as someone who's an asshole. That's life. That's reality. That's what you can trust.
I think my big goal is, like you said in the past, Spence, and Joe, I'm sure you've said, is not scaring off the next doc that you want to get a revision from. You know what I mean? Because it's their problem right now.
Yeah.
That's the hard part that I'm going to have to contend with. That's I'll just
you don't
being
want to
different.
go in front of the next doctor you're going to talk to and talk about the last one and say, yeah, man, he fucked me up. I'm going to screw his shit up online.
Yeah.
So how
obviously not.
You know?
I mean,
You
I
know?
avoid trying to say the doc's name. I'm not trying to indulge the chat people by talking shit. So I'll just keep seeing docs and get the varied opinions. And it's such a gamut of opinion. That's what's crazy. And it's like, say, doctors practice medicine differently, so it's hard to figure out what's going to be the best call. But patience is a motherfucker. That's all it is. Sucks.
Well, dude, it does. And just keep calling. Let us know. Vent as much as you want. That's what the show is about.
You bet.
And all I can
Joe,
tell you
thanks
is,
for giving
man.
me Spencer's personal number. I appreciate that, by the way. Thanks, man. I'm kidding.
You know, it's funny. Joe doesn't even have it.
Oh, right on.
I got both of them.
I can't trust that motherfucker.
You got 5 numbers anyway, I'm sure. Smart boy. A couple of burners. All right, guys. It's been a long one for you guys. Let me go, or I'll let you go, and to be continued.
All right, man. You take care.
All right, fellas.
Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
See ya.
Take care. Bye.
Let's call the show.
Well, I actually want, there are a couple more questions. I'm really interested in the discussion right now.
Sure.
Vishal Rai says, I mean, refunds. Not. He's talking about accountability. It's like, well, if we can't expect a guarantee of some sort, what kind of accountability is there? He goes, I mean, a refund's not my concern, but some kind of accountability so that the doc pays more attention towards the work and not just the leads. It's a great question, and it's a very logical question. But look, the first thing to understand is that you don't have to go through with this procedure to begin with. It's cosmetic. There are other options out there, and as we've been talking about for years, it's a last resort. It's
elective.
It's elective. It's a key word. You're electing to go through this. You're electing to trust someone to do the best job that they can, which is the most that you can expect. As far as accountability, well, as far as like, the doctor working on the being more concerned about the leads, you can tell who those people are just by looking at the work. Understand what good work is. Understand what a good result is, what's reasonable. Okay, and don't look at the home runs all the time. Look at the moderate results and expect nothing better than the moderate results or the average results. But look at the consistency. Look at the track record. That's basically the only assurance that you can have that the doctor isn't only concerned about the leads. If they're only concerned about the leads, it'll reflect in the work. And I can name 100 clinics off the top of my head where that's the case. I see it all the time. As far as accountability goes, it has to be a balancing act. It's like accountability for what? Like they automatically give you a refund for whatever issue that has come up from the surgery. What if you're not happy with the surgery, but everyone else says it's a great result? Like there's a relativity issue here as well. But if it's an obvious issue like bad growth or no growth or really bad scarring or decimated donor area, those things are really difficult to quantify as far as a financial amount to begin with. But the question is how is there accountability? Well, how'd you find them? You found them online. Okay, well, accountability is to talk about it online. But you got to do it a certain way. You can't just drag their name through the mud and embellish all kinds of shit that didn't happen. You go online and you say, this is who I am. This is the doctor I went to. I don't think my result is what it should be. Here are my photos. What do you guys think? Done. And that is more than enough to keep doctors in line. I guarantee it. That's a guarantee.
I can tell you this. There was a post brought to my attention by our moderator who missed it. And this is a doctor who's not a member of the IHRS. And it was one of those heavily embellished posts that, when I say embellished, basically providing opinion on character and the fact that they believed that they were lied to, and calling people names, and, you know, using really colorful language that we just don't allow on, you know, on Bald Truth Talk, period. It doesn't matter if they're a doctor who's with us. It doesn't matter if they pay dues to the IHRS or if it's a guy works for fucking Bosley. You want to make a complaint. All you do is stick to the facts, ma'am. That's it. That's the complaint. Prove that you're a patient, and that complaint goes live. That is invaluable because, especially on our forum, and I think that even makes it more, I guess, it gives the physician in question a opportunity to really look at things in a way that's going to be put them less on their heels, and they're not going to feel as intimidated or extorted, whoever that doctor is. Sadly, these other sites have, I think, really made it a very difficult place for both patients and physicians to adjudicate issues that could be adjudicated reasonably. And I believe that more people would actually get refunds or partial refunds if things were done in a I can't think today, in a more just, I'm going to use the word nicer because I can't think of the word, in a nicer, more reasonable fashion. That's it. Without bullying people, without calling people, questioning their integrity because they may have made a mistake. The reason why so many people, and the reason why doctors are on certain forums threatening to sue patients because they're filing a complaint, is because of the language that you have been allowed to and choose to use, as opposed to just putting it out there and trying to get some fucking help. I just went off on a tangent, but I know what I'm talking about.
That was a good one. There's someone in the chat room. These guys spend the majority of the show talking crap about non-IAHRS doctors and promote IAHRS doctors, but when someone complains about one, they tell you it was your own fault.
Bullshit.
Aaron Lewis fan. Aaron Lewis fan, go fuck yourself. How's that? You're completely wrong and you're being an asshole. And by the way, you're out of the chat room. Bye. Next.
Well, that was a little over the top harsh, but I get it.
He's being an asshole.
Yeah, but the reality is that's not true.
And he's talking about Nico whining about his results. So I don't appreciate it.
But meanwhile, that's absolutely not true. And people are idiots. People don't really, either he's a troll or he's just not a smart person. That's just the way that it is. I would have let him, answer to us a little bit more, but it's just me.
Let's see, and there.
Any more bullshit?
No, that's enough. I think it's enough.
Guys, we're not taking any more calls. The show is over. That means I turn it.
Again, to reiterate, we're not selling surgeries. You guys got to be careful out there. Trust no one. And if you decide to move forward with this, understand that whoever you choose can slip up and screw up.
Right. And you guys should be thanking IHS members who have helped to support what we have done and what I've done for over 20 years to give people the education to step away from surgery before they even make a mistake. Period. Thousands of lives have been saved or changed because they were able to get this education. So every doctor in the IHS who supports surgery as the last resort should fucking be thanked by all of you guys.
Yeah.
I believe that. because other guys don't have the courage to lose surgery because we're out here telling the truth. You got the websites, Joe?
Websites that support our message and also understand that surgery is a last resort. Starting off with, we'll start with the French boys, the French guys. That's international-hairlossforum.com. It is the French hair loss and hair restoration forum. Lots of clinics sharing their results and patients sharing their experiences, both good and bad. Check them out, international-hairlossforum.com. Second up, we got bellicapelli.forumfree.it. It's the Italian hair loss and hair restoration forum. Great guy that runs that. He is also a repair patient like myself. Known him for very, very long. He's a fantastic person, great individual, and he really does support what we do here and in our message. That is bellicapelli.forumfree.it. And finally, we've got hairlossexperiences.com. Based in Britain, but worldwide access, lots of clinics sharing results, patients sharing experiences, again, both good and bad, and also being a repair patient, the owner of that clinic or that forum is always helping other repair patients find the solutions that they need. That's hairlossexperiences.com.
TheBaldTruth.com for archives of this broadcast. It is happy hour here in Los Angeles. I think I'm going to get happy, by the way. International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. Yes, it is a safe place to start your research when it comes to considering a surgeon if you are considering and are a candidate for hair transplant surgery. That's IHRS.org. The American Hair Loss Association is AmericanHairLoss.org. I usually throw out Joe's website, give him a little boost there. It's hairtransplantmentor.com for everything Joe Tillman. If you want to really understand why Joe does what he does and what has made Joe the original hair transplant mentor, that is the site to go to. See his entire journey, his history. He loves to talk about the most in-depth glossary in the world on hair loss, because it is. So you can check that out. It's a great site, and it really gives you some insight on the legitimacy and the credibility of the person who is on the left side of your screen right now. So don't fucking question his integrity. That's all I'm saying.
You can question everything, but
I don't like that. Joe helps people. Let's see what else. BaldTruthTalk.com. That's our message forum. Stay off the forums if you can, but if you choose to go to a message forum, BaldTruthTalk.com is the only heavily moderated forum in this industry. Period. No back end, no PMing system. You cannot be sold shit on that forum. You cannot be guided in an unsafe direction. You cannot be asked to join private forums to learn about gray market bullshit and buy stuff from people who are selling gray market bullshit. It's not allowed. Just the truth. A fully, and I have to say, no disrespect to some of the better forum owners, but in my view, the only fully transparent forum for one reason, that there is no PMing system. So everything is public. That is true transparency. I believe that the other guys who are the good guys, they try to run their PMing systems fairly, I'm sure. But I don't like it. I don't like PMing systems. It's not good. It's not good for the public. It's good for business. I can tell you that. If that's what all I was thinking about, I would put that PMing system to work right now, and we would have like a 4 traffic ranking. I don't know what it is now, but last time I looked, it was like 30,000 or 20-something thousand globally. And it's a hair loss forum. It's fucking insane. But if I opened up that back door, it may even be the top 20. Who knows?
I wouldn't doubt it.
There's no reason for it because it's bullshit.
But we won't find out.
No, it's bullshit. God, I hate this industry. Until next time, Be strong. God bless. And thank you so much for listening. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.